You are listening to The Art of Sales. Everyone sells every day, and this is your source for conversational, real-world sales and prospecting methods that you are comfortable using and that get results. You'll help people buy instead of pushing them into being sold. Here's your host, Art Subcheck.
So I'm often asked, what is the main difference in sales today compared to 10, 20, even 30 years ago? And I think people are hoping for an answer like, oh, the way people buy has changed. People are different, blah, blah, blah. You know what? That hasn't changed at all. Humans still buy from humans. And because of the high-tech environment that we live in today, connecting with humans, really connecting and having conversations is more important than ever. And what has changed dramatically and continues to every day is our ability to do that if we want to. And I'm talking about the ability to get information, gather intelligence about people and organizations and situations. And that helps us to talk about everyone's favorite subject, which is themselves. And it's easier today to get that information than ever if you know how. And today's guest is an expert in that, and he's going to show you some very powerful ways to do it. Sam Richter is an award-winning speaker and best-selling author and is considered one of the world's top experts on sales intelligence and digital reputation management. He's been named one of the world's top 25 most influential sales leaders, and through his No More, that's KNOW, No More keynote presentations and online programs, Sam has trained leading organizations and entertained tens of thousands of people around the globe. Sam's proven techniques for leveraging online information to grow sales has directly resulted in millions of dollars of new business for his clients and program attendees. Sam's been featured in thousands of newspaper, magazine, online publications, and television and radio programs. He's won numerous awards, including a Gold Award at the International Film Festival and a Cody Award, the Oscars of the software industry. He's a partner in and serves on the board of directors of numerous technology firms. He's a past finalist for Inc. magazine's Entrepreneur of the Year and a member of the Minnesota Speakers Hall of Fame. And I've had Sam present to my Inner Circle coaching group several times, and I've had the honor of speaking with him on the same program as well. Sam, welcome.
Well, hey, thanks so much, Art. And wow, it was kind of fun to hear that bio. And I guess when you've done all those things, it just means that I'm old, right?
That's what I say. That's what I say, too. I don't talk about it a lot, but I got the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Association of Inside Sales Professionals. And I always start out with, that's what they give to the oldest member of the association.
Exactly.
So, Sam, you've got a ton of stuff to share with us, as you always do. But I always like to start out with this question. What was your first paid sales job?
Well, it's funny, Art, because I've never really considered myself a professional salesperson. I kind of stumbled into it. In fact, even though I'm a professional speaker, I'm actually an introvert by nature. So my career choice out of college, I have a degree in journalism, was an advertising writer. So I wanted to basically lock myself in a closet all day and write ads. Well, fast forward, I guess I was pretty good at that because I got promoted to become a creative director and eventually even owned my own ad agency, and then went to work for some big public relations firms and e-marketing firms. And once I had to get out of just writing and actually going out and presenting, well, especially when you own your own businesses, all of a sudden I had to start selling. And so I really, like I said, I never was a professional salesperson, but as you and I both talk about, everybody's in sales at one point in time. And when you own your own company and all of a sudden you have kids and a mortgage and a family, you better become pretty darn good at being good at sales. And it was interesting because it kind of led into what I do today, because being an introvert, when I was walking into a sales meeting, I was terrified. Now, speaking of age, this was long before the internet. And so what I used to do is I used to go and meet with, I tried to show up to a meeting maybe 10, 15 minutes early and chat with the receptionist. I'd ask the receptionist some questions, hey, can you tell me a little bit about Art? What's going on with the company? How are sales this year? How are things going? And people would share that information. Well, then when I'd walk in the meeting with the person I was going to present to or sell to, I would ask a lot of questions based on the information that the receptionist shared with me. Now, I'd love to tell you, Art, that I was some brilliant salesperson. The reality was I was terrified. But I soon realized that the more questions, relevant questions that I asked, the more the other person talked, which was frankly my goal because I didn't want to do any of the talking. But the more questions I asked, the more engaging it became, the more fun it became, and frankly, the more stuff that I sold. Well, fast forward, I started to read a lot of sales books like yours. And, to me, the ultimate is still Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And voila, every sales book ever written since then talks about the need to ask questions. You need to understand the other person. So it kind of all tied together, but it really started from my own personal journey of being an introvert and terrified of sales and realizing that if I could get the other person to talk, well, I would get two advantages. One, I didn't have to talk. And two, I'd sell a lot of stuff.
Well, it makes tremendous sense. And you were doing smart calling well before I even put it into a book. And I remember when I first saw your book, which is Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling. It was right about the time that smart calling first came out 10 years ago. And I thought, oh my God, this was actually written for me in my book because this is what people need to be doing. And that is very simply what you just talked about. And that's gathering intelligence before we make our sales call. So tell us, fast forward to today, what did you do after that then?
Well, I became president of a nonprofit organization, world's largest business library. And of course, we didn't have any money to market. So I went around the globe really and started speaking to promote the value of information. And all these things kind of just started fitting together because I was learning to become really, really good at finding information because I was surrounded by 40 brilliant librarians who were teaching me these things, and I was doing them on my own. And I quickly realized that, those questions that I was asking the receptionist, I could get most of the answers by doing really complex Boolean searching and understanding the invisible web. And this was kind of before social media, but when social media came out, start using that as well. And the more I spoke, the more fun I had, and the more people were saying, hey, where's your book? Well, I didn't have a book, so I wrote the book, as you mentioned, and then people started to pay me to speak, and eventually just kind of went out on my own. And here we are today. And it's why I love working with folks like you, Art, because I think what I teach is a very niche. It's the how, and what you teach is the why. I mean, you teach the why having information is so important, how to use it in an email, in a voicemail, in a meeting, in a social media. I love getting your emails, Art, when you share the things that people send you via email or via LinkedIn posts that are just so highly irrelevant, because that's the why. And I teach the how. Well, how do you quickly, and that's the key because we're in sales, not in research, how do you quickly find the information you need to be relevant and ask intelligent questions?
And you amaze me every time I have you present, because many times I've heard you, I always learn something new when you're sharing your technique. So I have my pen ready. I would encourage everybody else out there to do the same. Let's get into some of these ninja techniques to gather sales intelligence.
Well, I'm going to start out with some basic things that one can do in Google that most people don't know about that can really help you find the right information. So just a couple of quick things. First off, anytime you're searching for a company name or a person, make sure you put that name within quotation marks. Simple reason why, when you put words within quotation marks, and by the way, this works in Google, it works on LinkedIn, it works in really any searching that you're doing, including your own email or your own computer. When you put something within quotation marks, any search engine is going to treat those words as a single entity. So for example, if I'm looking for a company like, let's say I'm doing a sales call on investment brokers. Well, if I just type that in to Google, Google's going to find every website in the world with the word investment in it and every website in the world with the word brokers in it. So investment could be in the first paragraph, brokers could be in the 40th paragraph. But if the name of the company is Investment Brokers, or better, Investment Brokers, Inc., I will put that within quotation marks and I'll get a much better result because now those words are treated as a single entity. Another simple tip in Google is the minus sign. So let's say I do a search on, let's say I didn't remember your last name. And so I'm looking for Art Sales. And so I go into Google, I type in Art Sales, and there's a book called The Art of Sales as an example. Well, I can minus out words. So I can minus out the word book as an example. And how to do that is you attach the minus sign to the word that you'd like to remove. So in this example, I'd attach the minus sign to the B. So it'd be minus book, B-O-O-K. Now Google's going to say, well, here's every website in the world with the word art in it. Here's every website in the world with the word sales in it, but none of them will have the word book in it. Probably a bad example, but you see what I'm getting at. And you can add up to 20 to 30 minus signs. So you can start out with a super broad search term and use the minus sign to drill down, kind of filter, if you will, remove bad search results. So just those 2 tips alone will save everyone listening a ton of time.
Yeah, let me just vouch for that, because I can think just how many times I've done searches. You would do a search and then you get pages and pages and pages, and the thing I was looking for was on the 4th or 5th page. And that may not seem like a big deal unless you're doing it 20 or 30 or 40 times a day, and then we multiply how much time we're wasting just on sorting through irrelevant stuff. So those 2 tips alone can save you a ton of time.
Not only a ton of time, let's do the math real quick and talk about a ton of money. It's estimated the average person spends about 2 hours a day online looking for stuff, and it's everything from researching a prospect to looking, where are we going to go to dinner tonight, to even looking, hey, I sent an email to Joe Smith. Where is that? So searching your own email. Just using the techniques, those 2 tips, the minus sign and the quotation marks, I bet you I can save you an hour a day. You say, an hour a day. Well, what am I going to do with an hour a day? Well, geez, Art, is it reasonable we could make 6 phone calls during an hour? Yes. Factoring in vacations and all that stuff. If my math is correct, that's about an extra, 1,000 or so, 1,200 sales calls per year we ought to be able to make. And what you and I both teach, if we can make those sales calls to the right person at the right time with the right message, hey, if I can't close 50 deals out of 1,200 additional calls that I might not otherwise have been able to make, get out of the business, right? So think about that number for a second.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I have to laugh anytime somebody says to me, I don't have time to do research. I just need to be placing calls. Well, first of all, that's wrong, because you're always going to be able to place a better call when you've done the research. Right. And the other thing is, if you know how to streamline your research time, like you just mentioned, and with what you're also going to be sharing with us, now you're making yourself so much more efficient and effective, as you just gave the numbers to prove. All right, good.
So those were a couple of just like, I call those Google kindergarten techniques, elementary school techniques. Fine. Once you know those, great. Now how are we going to use these techniques to really find some good information prior to our calls? A couple other Google tricks that I'll share. 1, news. Make sure that the first words out of your mouth are about the other person. Again, it's what you teach. The first sentence in that email, that LinkedIn introduction, make it about the other person. Why? Because as your intro stated, nobody cares about your product. They don't care about your company. They don't care about your solutions, but they're massively passionate about themselves. So how do we make sure that the first words out of our mouth are about the other person? I was just doing this right before our call here, Art. I was sending out some emails, and the beautiful thing, this took me maybe 15 seconds per email. I would go into Google, I would type in the name of the company, put it within quotation marks, and I'd get my search results fine. But underneath the main search form, there's a little button called News. I'd click on the News button, and it would instantly pull up news articles about what's going on in the other person's world. Now, sometimes the news was old or not relevant, but a few of the emails I sent, just again, right prior to our call here, I referenced an award that the person won, or a promotion that they received, or something that was changing in their industry. And that was the first sentence in every single email, something about the other person. Now, sometimes Google News really focuses on those larger companies, or they'll miss some news articles. So there's actually a news search engine that 99.9% of the planet has never heard of. And I know that because I built it. It's a news search engine that specifically searches smaller newspapers, industry publications. So it'll search the USA Today and the Wall Street Journal, the ones that Google News does, but it also gets to those smaller publications. That website is yougotthenews.com, yougotthenews, yougotthenews.com. Now, just a real simple thing to remember on my search engines, You Got the News, and we can talk about some others later, but yougotthenews.com, you don't have to use the quotation marks or the minus sign. I've eliminated those. Matter of fact, it won't even work if you type in quotation marks. So when you're in You Got the News, just type in the name of the company. It'll automatically add the quotations for you. But just, again, those 2 tips, finding some information about the other person. So the first words out of your mouth, or in that LinkedIn introduction, that note, or or your email, or in today's world, your text message or TikTok or Snapchat or whatever, make sure it's about the other person.
It is so simple, but yet so many people just disregard that and don't take the time to do it. And immediately it is setting you apart from the other 10 emails that may have arrived within the last hour.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting, Sam, I got a LinkedIn connection request. And of course, as you probably get these too, within 2 minutes, I got an in-mail message from that person with a pitch.
Oh.
And they were asking for an appointment. It looked like an automated message. And as it turns out, this guy was selling LinkedIn automated messaging.
That's funny. Yeah.
And I said, no, actually, I wouldn't be interested because I don't believe in LinkedIn automated messaging because it really defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. And that's to connect at a human level about something that's going on in your world, just like what you mentioned.
It's funny on using the LinkedIn example, I probably get 15, 20 invitations a day where people are reaching out to me. And most of them just kind of sit there and maybe someday I'll go through and answer them. But the ones that I always click on are the ones that have just a little bit of relevance. Sometimes you can even tell that maybe they didn't attend my presentation or they haven't read my book, but they still want to reach out, but they've at least done something to be relevant. And those are the ones I accept immediately. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think the good news is there's so much information out there. The bad news is most people aren't using it to connect with prospects, clients, customers. The good news is those who actually do use it really differentiate, and it shouldn't take you more than, again, those news searches I was doing on my emails today, my sales emails today, I bet you I didn't spend more than 30 seconds on each one. But every one, I found a piece of relevant information that I can put in there.
Little things mean so much, but Again, it still amazes me that salespeople would rather continue doing the things that don't work and they're putting in the activity and not getting the result that they're looking for.
Yep, absolutely. Now another one kind of connected with that is one of the things that you and I both talk about a lot is this whole concept of a trigger event. A trigger event is, why would someone actually take my sales call today, read my sales email today, where 3 weeks ago they wouldn't have? So an example I use in my presentations are, Art, if I called you right now and say, hey, I'm Sam from Sam's Roofing, I'd love to come out and give you a free estimate. Well, you're going to hit delete, hang up, go away. However, if you just had a big hailstorm and there's pieces of shingle laying in your front yard and water's leaking through your kitchen, 30 seconds later, I call, hey, I'm Sam from Sam's Roofing. Well, now what am I? I'm your new best friend. So what are sales triggers for most business-to-business buyers? Very simple things. Anytime there's a new promotion at a company, I read a statistic. Now, I can't remember who it was from, but I remember it was a good source. And they said that of C-level executives will spend 70% of their entire first year's annual budget within 3 months of being hired. You go, well, how can that be? And if you think about it for a second, it kind of makes sense. When a new C-level executive is hired, what do they want to do? They want to impress their bosses, the board of directors, or whomever might have hired the owner of the company, and they want to make changes. And so, for example, finding a new executive hire at the companies and or industries that you're interested in could be a sales trigger. A merger or an acquisition can be a sales trigger. Anytime there's change going on within an organization, a new announced partnership, a huge customer they just landed, expanding a plant, remodeling a facility, all of those are sales triggers. Well, you might say, well, that's great, Sam. How do you find them? Let me tell you how. You go into Google. Let's say it's I want to find manufacturing facilities in Phoenix who have just hired a new CEO. And now here's where the art, no pun intended, of this comes in. When you're thinking about, well, where am I going to find new CEOs of manufacturing facilities in Phoenix? Well, think about this. Anytime that there is a CEO, a new chief, or a new C-level executive hired, a merger and acquisition, a partnership, what usually happens, someone will send out a press release, a news article. They'll put something in their company newsletter, a social media post. I like to say, think like the author. So what words, if I was a company who just hired a new CEO, what words would I put in that press release? It might be things like welcomes, announces. So I might do a search in Google. Announces, or, now I'm going to use or in all uppercase. So a space before and after the word or. When you use or in all uppercase in any search, you're telling the search engine, give me this word or give me that word. So I'm expanding my search. So I might say welcomes or announced or proud to, put proud to in quotation marks, and then type in the words new president, put new president in quotation marks, or new chief, put new chief in quotation marks. You don't even have to put in executive or finance, because new chief will cover all those. So again, that the search in Google might be welcomes or announced or proud to plus new chief or new president or new director, whatever you want, and then plus Phoenix plus manufacturing, run your search. Now, here's the thing. You're going to get a bunch of results, probably hundreds of thousands of results of news articles, press releases of CEOs, presidents who have been hired in manufacturing companies in Phoenix. And many of them will be old, right? That's not a sales trigger if it's a result from 2014. What do I do? On the right-hand side of the Google search results, kind of right underneath the search form, there's a button called Tools. Click on that. When you click on the Tools button, some drop-down menus appear. One of them says Anytime. Click on the Anytime button, and it allows you to sort your results by date. So I'm going to go in there, and so I've got my 100,000 of results of new CEOs, new presidents, new directors of manufacturing facilities in Phoenix, 100,000 results, but I'm going to click Tools, click the Anytime, sort by date. Maybe I'll choose the last month. And now, boom, instantly it'll pull up the 5, 10, 20 press releases, announcements of new chiefs, presidents, or directors who've been hired in Phoenix in the last month. Boom, there are my sales triggers. So doing simple things like that, and again, now I'm going to go back before I make my call. I'm going to research the company, or it might even be, hey, Fred, congratulations on the new job. You know, I know that, and I might do some other research. I know that companies like yours, especially when a new chief financial officer is hired, they're looking at these types of things. Are those the types of issues you're facing with? Great. I have 15 years experience of helping people just like you. The whole point is be relevant to what the other person cares about and find a trigger where they actually might be interested in taking your phone call today.
Wow. I would encourage everybody, might want to rewind and go back and get the details on that, because Sam covered a lot there, but that can be so powerful. We all know, or we should know, what kind of triggers are going to make somebody a good prospect for us. It really shouldn't be that tough for you to set up this type of search and do it in the way that Sam just described.
It would be the same as, let's say your company sold HVAC equipment, or you sold commercial insurance. Again, what would a trigger be? Anytime a company's remodeling, moving, same type of thing. They're going to put out an announcement. What words would somebody put in an announcement? Manufacturing plus Phoenix plus remodel, or expanding facility, or new factory. Run those kinds of things. You're going to get a bunch of results. Click the tools, click Anytime, sort. Again, you're going to get those sales triggers that are relevant to your industry and who you sell to.
I wasn't even aware, as many times as I heard you, of the Tools button there. Must have been so engrossed in all the other stuff you were saying.
Oh, because I'm always sharing new things with you, Art.
Oh, that's great. Good. What else?
And another question I always get is, well, how do I find the right people? And there's a beautiful database that's free called LinkedIn. And I'm sure every person listening today has a LinkedIn account. Whether you have Sales Navigator, you're paying for their premium, or you're using the free account, there's a lot of cool things you can do using similar techniques that I just shared with you. So let me give you an example. Now I'm going to use the free version of LinkedIn. When I go into the LinkedIn search form, the same techniques I just shared with you to search Google, I'm going to search LinkedIn. So I'm going to put in the LinkedIn search form, president or CEO or Chief Executive Officer. I'll put Chief Executive Officer in quotation marks. I'll run my search. I'll click the People button, and I'll get a few million results of every president or CEO or chief executive in the LinkedIn database. Great. Well, I want manufacturing companies in Phoenix. So what am I going to do? Well, over on the right-hand side of the LinkedIn search results, there's going to be a button it says something like all filters. Some people it says filters, some people it says all filters. I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to go through. There'll be one in there called industry. I'll start typing in manufacturing, and LinkedIn will auto-populate that with different types of manufacturing. So I'll choose the manufacturing industry that I'm interested in. There's a field in there called location. I'll start typing in Phoenix. It'll auto-populate for me. And once I've filtered out the results, now I'm going to go up, and in the right-hand side of the filters button, there's a little blue button that says apply. I'll click the apply button, and instantly, instead of getting the millions of results, I'll go down to the couple thousand, or maybe even fewer, probably a few hundred, of presidents, CEOs, or chief executive officers of manufacturing companies in Phoenix. Now, here's another really cool trick for you, Art. Now, I don't have a lot of connections of CEOs of manufacturing facilities in Phoenix. So on that result list, again, using the free version of LinkedIn, there are going to be a number of names where it shows the title and the company name, but it's just going to say LinkedIn connection, or it's just going to say LinkedIn member. Meaning if I click on it, LinkedIn's going to say, nah, you're not popular enough because you're not connected on the first, second, or third level. We're not going to give you that name. Well, that I don't like that. So here's what you can do. All you have to do is go back to your LinkedIn search results. You're going to highlight that job title and that company name. So it might say, Joe Smith at Widget Corporation. You're going to highlight that name in the, where it says right underneath where it says LinkedIn member. You're going to highlight the name. You're going to copy it, right mouse click if you're on Windows and copy that. Go into Google, and here's the trick. Paste that job title in exactly as it was in LinkedIn, but now you're going to paste it in Google, and you're going to put it within quotation marks. When you do that 95 times out of 100, Google will actually give you the person's name. Now I can actually just click right on that Google search result because I have another window open under LinkedIn. I can click right on that search result, and it will open up that person's profile even though I didn't have a connection to him or her. So basically, that little technique right there just gave you access to 700 million executives around the globe for free.
That truly is an amazing technique. I've used it in workshops before, of course, giving you credit. And I'll have, you probably do this too. I'll just have members of the audience and we'll do it live. And it just works like magic. And people are absolutely amazed. So I know we could probably talk all day long, and what we'll likely have to do is have you on another time. And, I've known you for a lot of years. And every time I've had you on or saw you speak, people were and are amazed at the information that's available out there. But also what I found is that many people would not actually practice all these methods or techniques or formulas because, it requires some effort and can be, not something that we do every day if we're not familiar with all the Boolean stuff. And I know I'm guilty of that to a degree. And I often said, gosh, I wish I could have a Sam here who's getting this information for me. You make it look so easy. I bet you probably heard that before.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I happen to know that you actually have put something together and you referenced it. And I mentioned that I really don't have to do these searches anymore because you have something that has really made this a lot easier.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things from going around the world and presenting 70 times a year to big corporations, big associations is, let's say you take an audience of 1,000 people, and that 10% of the audience is going to just eat up and take everything that I share and love it and integrate it into their sales process. And because these folks are already rock stars anyhow, and they're going to take this knowledge and just soak it in and use it and love it. And they're going to see dramatic results. Now, let's be honest. There's going to be 10% of the audience that's just like, well, that was nice. Let's go play golf. But then there's that 80% in the middle that's going to take some things, because every time I present, everybody does something different, hopefully positive, to grow their sales. But they're not going to do everything because they're busy or they forget. So I wanted to create a tool for that 80%. And I've done that. It's called the Business and Sales Intelligence Engine. What it really is it's a Google search overlay that automates everything I just shared with you. So for example, there's a button in there called Sales Triggers. Now, instead of having to know to type that pluses and ors and minus and quotation marks, I could just go into the sales trigger part of the sales intel engine and type in manufacturing Phoenix. That's it. And then when I pull up results, there'll be tabs, new hires, retirements, promotions, mergers and acquisitions, partnerships, executive stock sales, new hires, all sorts of things. The You Got the News I referenced, there's an even more powerful news search engine I've built for those folks. People search. I can just go in there and type in President Manufacturing Phoenix, and it will pull up the list. It'll do all, you don't have to, there's no filters, there's no ors, this, that. It just does it all for you. it automatically finds member lists, membership directories, attendee lists, all sorts of really cool things. Contact information. It'll help find email addresses, research documents, white papers, trend documents, all sorts of things. And the cool thing is, because I'm such a huge fan of yours, Art, and so we're making really a special offer to your listeners, your fans, where folks can go to Smart Calling Intel, that's SmartCallingIntel, smartcallingintel.com, and your fans can get 50% off the whole program. So it comes out to being, let's see, well, I get my coffee at a gas station, not at a fancy Starbucks, but at your price, it still comes out to less than a gas station cup of coffee a day for probably the most powerful sales and business intel engine that's out there. And like we talked about earlier, I mean, if you can't use this in the first day and find new opportunities that help you close new deals, get out of the sales business because you're not very good. I'm telling you, that's how powerful this thing is. And like I said, it's less than a gas station cup of coffee a day.
And I can vouch for this from experience, not just because you're making this special offer, which I truly do appreciate. And that's amazing. I mean, you're giving 50% off, but I use this every day. Matter of fact, I used it this morning before we got on the show, and I was pulling up LinkedIn profiles of some prospects. And some people might say, well, why don't you just go to LinkedIn and pull up the prospects? Because with your search engine, you're going to be able to pull up the exact profile that you're looking for based on the search criteria, as opposed to the 10 John Smiths or 100 that might be coming up if I'm doing the LinkedIn search.
Well, that's exactly right. And I've tested this. I actually even have a calculator that I need to get out there online. But as an example, Art, if I said to you, well, Art, I want to find, again, we'll use the example, presidents of manufacturing companies who live in Arizona and are graduates of the University of Nebraska. How long would that take you to do in LinkedIn or Google?
Well, I'd have to go figure out all the Boolean stuff that you just said.
And I'm not even sure you'd be able to find it.
Yeah.
That exact search would take any listener today less than 3 seconds in the Intel engine. I mean, I've tried to make it really intuitive and really easy and really fast. I mean, that's the key, is it's got to be fast. It works on mobile. And I want to share too. We do what's called a high value, no risk program, because I don't want to do business with people who aren't getting incredible value out of everything that we do. And so anybody who goes to smartcallingintel.com and joins at the 50% off, they get a 30-day complete money back guarantee. Like, if this isn't for you, no problem. Just send me an email. We cancel it. You get your money back. And we only offer a monthly program, meaning people can cancel at any time. So again, if they're not receiving value, they just log into their account, click cancel. Their credit card's never billed again. We only want to be doing business with people who are receiving incredible value out of their program. And that's why we're totally willing to do the, like I say, a super high value, completely risk-free program.
When you think about it, if you go back to the numbers you mentioned earlier, just the amount of time this could save you over the course of a week, a month, a year, it's astronomical. And not only saving the time, but being able to re-employ that time into more and better quality calls as well. And when you came out with this, I mean, I thought it was just amazing when I first heard of you in your book, but when you came out with this thing, I mean, I was all over it. I was like a kid in a candy store opening up presents at Christmas time, because I'm thinking this is just absolutely amazing for smart calling. Yep. And it really has been. We had offered this before, and the people who have taken advantage of it are just loving it and getting results and wouldn't live without it. And think about some of the other information services out there. People are paying, and organizations, I mean, hundreds of dollars a month for things that aren't even giving them the quality and quantity of information that you're able to get here with the Smart Calling Intel engine.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I want to be clear, the Smart Calling Intel engine is not a new database. It's not, some fancy database that's scraping information off the web. Everything you could do in the at smartcallingintel.com, you could do if you knew how to type in 30 to 50 word Google Boolean equations. We're just kind of automating it for you. So again, you just type in one word, click one button, and we're automatically appending with whatever you type in. Based on what you click on, we're automatically adding the 20 to 30 word mathematical equation behind the scenes. So you don't have to do that work. And again, it's just I use it all the time. I mean, there's a button in there for annual conferences. I can go in there and, let's say I want to work in I'd like to speak in the insurance industry. I type in insurance 2020 annual conference. It pulls up every single conference in the world in the insurance industry in 2020. I want to find marketing opportunities. I can go in there and I can, find a reporter who might be interested in my message. I can find a podcaster, somebody who might be interested in my blog post, my article. I mean, it just does so many cool things. And like, again, it's stuff you could do if you had hours in Google, or you can do it in seconds. And like I said, it's mobile friendly. So I use it a ton. I try to show up to a meeting, 3 minutes before. We started out by talking about how I went to the receptionist desk 15 minutes, 20 minutes before my meeting to ask the questions. Now I show up 2 minutes before. I fire up the smartcallingintel.com, type in the company name I'm interested in, and within 5, 6, 7 seconds, I've got some talking points. So it's really, again, not only automated the Google stuff and all the searching that I teach, but it's going back 25 years, it's automated what I used to do when I walked into that receptionist's office.
It's funny. I joked about how we would all love to have you over our shoulder here, just typing in these searches for us. So really what you've done is you have automated everything and made it easy for people. And I know as a famous speaker out there, you're charging like what, 100,000 a day, maybe?
A tad less than that, but not much.
All right.
Yeah, we don't want to let the IRS know.
But it's up there, and you can get Sam actually working for you for less than $1 a day. And again, you're getting it at 50% off, and you can get that at smartcallingintel.com, smartcallingintel.com. Yeah. Sam, thank you again so much. And we have a regular feature here on the show, and regular listeners, you know what time it is.
Your attitude will be every way you'll never feel when they say it's the art of the sales. Quote of the day.
Well, I have a great quote. You even referenced it a little bit earlier. I can't remember who the original author of the quote is because, frankly, I've heard a lot of speakers take claim to it. But my favorite quote is, it's not the big things that matter. It's the little things. It's the accumulation of little things. And what do we mean by that? In sales, the big things are easy. The big things are your company can do the product. You have the solution. You have the product, the service, the solution that the customer wants at a price that they're interested in. And as I like to say, once you have that, hopefully you get invited to the maybe pile. What's the maybe pile? Well, you're one of 3. So the buyer, Art, if you're the buyer, you're looking at 3 companies. All of us already do the big things. We can solve your problem at the price you're interested in. Now, who do you buy from? You mentioned this earlier. People buy from people who they trust, who they like. It's still a human business. How do you like somebody? And that's where the quote comes in. It's not the big things. It's the little things that matter. Can you connect with somebody in a way that's relevant to what they care about? Do you know their religious affiliation? So sometimes knowing what not to say can sometimes be more important than knowing what to say. Do you know their religious or political affiliate? Do they have pets? Do they have kids? Where did they go to school? Just, even in our small talk earlier, Art, I know you're a huge Nebraska fan. Your team's playing my team, the Gophers, in 2 weeks. We talked about it. If that was a sales call, that's a huge icebreaker and a huge differentiator. Not the big things, because the big things get you in the maybe pile. You got to have the big things. It's the accumulation of little things that help you close that deal.
So true. And everything you talked about today is what helps us make that difference by just doing a lot of the little things and doing them consistently. And by the way, I think originally that might have been my quote. But
I'm sure it was. Yep.
And by the way, everybody, Sam actually played football for the University of Minnesota, wide receiver, I believe.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because when we were both at school around that time, your team beat my team. I think it was 83-13. And I think Tom Osborne led off, because it was a home game for us. So you could only bring your third string. And he had the third stringers playing in the, I think the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, and you kept scoring on us. But hopefully our guys do a little bit better this year.
All right. Sam, thank you again so much for everything that you shared with us. I want to repeat again, smartcallingintel.com, smartcallingintel.com. And if people do want to hire you and have you out to their conference or meeting or whatever event they're holding, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. It's super easy. You just go to www.samrichter.com, www.samrichter.com. And one thing I do that a lot of other professional speakers can't because of the Intel engine is if a company will purchase an enterprise-wide access to the engine, I will come out and speak at no charge. I mean, it's kind of included in the price of the Intel engine because the goal is I want to do business with people who are receiving great value from the program. And hey, getting in front of folks and speaking and getting them to use my stuff is a great way to do that. So if you're interested in that, or if you're a member of an association, it's got a big conference, would love to work with you, www.samrichter.com, samrichter.com.
Or of course, they can always type it into the smartcallingintel.com engine, and they can find you that way.
If they can't, then I ought to get out of the business.
All right. Sam, thank you again so much, and I look forward to having you on again. And everybody else, thank you so much for investing your valuable sales time with us today. Until next time, go out and make it your best sales day ever. I'm Art Sup.